Everybody. Need to go through quickly some definitions that you're going to be using really quick today. And these definitions are for classifying triangles. And there's two ways to do it. And these aren't all the ways, but I'm going to show you 6 of them to help us with a jump start that we're doing today. The first method is to use classifying triangles by angles. And here I have a picture of what's called an acute angle, or acute triangle, I mean. And in an acute triangle, all angles measure less than 90 degrees. Okay, take a look at the picture. This one looks pretty close to 90, but if you put a card in there, it's not quite 90, it's less than 90. This is 90, and this is 90. Next one is an obtuse triangle. An obtuse triangle is a triangle that has one angle larger than 90 degrees. And remember, again, when you think about a right angle, you can think about just the corner of a piece of paper. So obtuse, one angle larger than 90. Take a look at that picture. The angle that looks larger than 90, which definitely is this one right here. Now notice this. I'm using what's called an arc mark, just so you know what angle I'm talking about. You can use arc marks in a couple ways. You can use them just to identify an angle, and you can use them to show that angles have the same measure. I'll talk more about that later. This last way to classify triangles by angles is called a right triangle, and it seemed like a lot of people knew that in class when I brought it up last week. One angle measures 90 degrees. And here I have it marked, and this did seem really familiar to a lot of students. It means that that angle is a right angle, measures 90 degrees. It also means that this line is perpendicular. Remember that word came up last week. Perpendicular lines, this one and this one. Okay, so that's classifying triangles by angles. Next one, classifying it by its sides. This is called a scalene triangle. Hard to read my writing here. And all that means is no sides, and again, this is classifying by sides, no sides have the same length. And here's how you could show that in geometry. Put these things called tick marks. If there are the same number of tick marks on a side, that means those sides have equal length. If they're all different, like this has 1 tick mark, 2, and this one has 3, that means all the sides are different length. Next one is called an isosceles triangle. I'd be interested to know how many students have heard of that word before. Isosceles means two sides of a triangle are congruent. And congruent, I think I said that again earlier, congruent means sides that have the same length. Same length. Okay, so if you hear me say the word congruent, it means same size and shape. In this case, it means that they have the same length. So in this picture right here, this side and this side have the same length. So I put the same number of tick marks. This one is different. I could leave it unmarked, or I could mark it with 2, showing that this side is not congruent to those two sides. Okay, equilateral. Equilateral means all sides have the same length, or I could say all sides are congruent. Remember, congruent means the same length. So here's how I could mark that. I put the same number of tick marks on all 3 sides. So know those 6 ways. You'll be using those really quickly here today.